Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Cara Delane and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings and Cara Delane.
Welcome to After Dark, everyone, at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And look at Ted's hair tonight. Is that Bon Jovi I see?
A little Bon Jovi tonight, Cara Delane for the 80s. We are heading back there. We have two amazing featured guests tonight. We want to welcome the great Sandy ZANINO, long time in coming here on the show. And Cara, tonight, once again, we have Stephen Mason back by popular demand. Sandy and Steve, welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and hey, Sandy, I love what's that behind you? That looks like the boom box.
It's called the bump box. It's the bump box. So, in the 80s, I love that intro, by the way, especially the Vogue. The girl, I think that was my favorite part.
Steve, did you have one of those boxes as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sorry I don't have my toupee on. It's at the dry cleaner. I'll have it.
All right. So we are in for an amazing 30 minutes with our guests. Jeff Daniel, good evening. David Lee, I think I've heard that name before. So, Cara, we're live, right?
We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So everybody share the video and comment down below for our guest tonight.
All right. And Cara, we'll have some trivia coming up a little later in the show. We'll ask our audience to help us with that in the chat. And like she said, we'll bring in your comments live. And of course, tonight, we want to thank our exclusive sponsor, which is BG Products, Partners Beyond Products out of Wichita, Kansas. Thank you for all you do for our industry, BG Products. Very grateful to you and our long association with BG. So very happy about that. So the reason we're here with the 80s, Cara, is we have an event coming up not too long from now, Cindy Reynolds. It's going to be in early May. Cara, give us the lowdown on that.
Yes, the Fixed Ops Roundtable is going back to the 80s, May 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. And all of these wonderful people on the screen will be there along with Ted and I. So get your complimentary tickets now at fixedopsroundtable.com. And don't be afraid to dress up in your 80s attire right along with us.
I see Ed Roberts on there. I thought that was Steve Mason for a moment. And I know Ed is going to be dressed up. I know Sarah Van Tyne will as well. She'll be there. And of course, Tully Williams will be with us at the 80s event. So that's our theme, everybody, and we're getting ready for that. So excited to have you all here. And Steve, you were on just a couple weeks ago, and you really blew it up here on the event. So
it was Cindy. Cindy carried me. Cindy carried me, y'all. No doubt.
Cindy carried the show. I know.
Absolutely.
So. Steve, it looks like you're in the store tonight, and you're at the Kia dealership. Where is that now?
In Lynchburg, Virginia. And yes, I am here. I'm sure people are starting to notice that more and more business seems to be normalizing. You're getting more and more new car customers that are starting to work you down like they did at one time, and your day supply is creeping up. And I'm just a big believer in making sure that everything is right before I go home, because I think there's such a large populace now of people that look at your presentation overnight online.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And Sandy, I know you're right there with retail. You got a lot going on. You're working with dealers. Bring us up to speed. Tell us what you're doing now.
Well, it's funny, when we were in the pre-show, when we were just talking, I realized that this month I'm going to celebrate, Innovative Auto HR is going to celebrate 6 years on the 27th. So I'm super excited about that, and over those 6 years, I've been able to build relationships with my clients, because we're in the relationship business, right? And so Nick loves somebody's hair. I'm not sure which we're talking about. If it's Steven's hair. I love being able to see these, but our industry is we're in the people business, right? One of my favorite sayings lately is from, I know you all probably know Paul Daly and Liza
Mm-hmm.
Borges. She said one time, love people more than you love cars. Right. And that's what I do. I'm in the people business. I help dealers protect their profits and create cultures of inclusion.
And you mentioned
So
Liza's name. Boy, what a great retailer, Sandy. I mean, there's none better than Liza Borges.
honestly, she and I just had some messages with her because I want to go and visit. She does this thing, onboarding is so important. How you onboard your new employees. Those first days of connection, super, super important, right? It's not just about the compliance. Yes, there's the compliance, and then there's the culture, and there's the clarity, right? Like the 4 C's of onboarding.
Okay.
But the connection part is really important. And Liza does something that she puts on, you'll see it on LinkedIn. She posts, and Liza's not a client, right? But she posts photos. They have a group, they do it once a month in different areas where all the new hires come. And she gets to know her people. She shows up, and that means something to these new hires. They immediately become connected to where they're working. And I haven't asked them about their turnover numbers, but I can make a good guess at what they are.
And her group is growing rapidly, right? Steve, I think they're in your market. We talked last time you were here as well.
They're definitely in my market, and I think I've spoken before about meeting Liza at NADA. And listen, if I was going to take the SAT for college, and I had 2 hours to prepare, I'd spend my first hour with Liza, my second hour with Tully. I'd ace this thing, no doubt. I mean, she's just, to your point, Sandy, she's just one of those people where when you walk out of the room, you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion of Liza. I mean, and I spoke with her at NADA and just loved what she was. And she's really an intelligent, smart woman who doesn't need to try to act like it. You walk away just feeling like, man, you got to be kidding. That's my opinion.
Don't you? I mean, I have found, since I've been doing what I do and getting out in the greater automotive world, because 20 years before that, I was in the dealership where they didn't let me go anywhere, right? Like I was, at the stores, and I found so many people like that who are open to sharing their knowledge and their skills and not afraid, right? Like I don't know. I love this industry. I love our business. I think it's one of the most amazing businesses that's there. It's the biggest, smallest business in the world. It's so huge, but we all seem to kind of get to know each other.
Steve, do you know Sean Butler? He's with the Amansky Automotive Group, Bristol Honda.
And, I know that we've messaged before on LinkedIn, but really haven't spent a lot of time together. But I like his post, all people every day. I think that's great. And listen, and Sandy, you'll love this. My father taught me early on, every single Christmas when my father would give out bonuses, I used to talk about this. My father hand wrote every single person a message that he put in that bonus check. And he told me one time, he goes, I promise you one thing, that message is more important to them than a raise.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't and y'all, you'll love this, and not my service for my father is finally next week. He wanted to be buried in the spring, not in the winter. So the service is next week in Texas. What if I told y'all that there's 34 people coming that worked underneath my father, and he retired 22 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Sandy, to your point, when you say you're trying to create culture, I think that is the most important avenue we can travel down in today's world. It's so easy to get caught up in everything negative going on because nobody ever sits around and talks about the great stuff. I hate that. But it's so easy to get caught up in that and let it consume your day and maybe take you a place where you don't need to be, when your real job is to be in the right mindset to improve everybody's life and their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion.
First, I'm sorry for the loss.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry for that loss.
Yeah,
And
great loss.
I can commiserate with that. My dad passed away last year, and
Sandy.
I'm reminded though of I can't remember. I don't remember who said it, but it's about people won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Amen.
That right. And
Sure.
if anybody can, I can't remember who said that, but it's wonderful and it's true, right? People do. They remember you. They remember that. That's what they remember. That's quite a legacy there. Thanks for sharing that.
So Ted, we talked about this on the last show, and to your point, Sandy, we have a cleaning crew that's in this store every morning when I get here. And my cleaning lady and I, we have this thing where once a week I'm going to make her breakfast. And I don't view her as a cleaning. Her job is vital towards the appearance of the store, just like a receptionist's job. And everybody drinks from the same cup, and no one cup is bigger than the other. And we're all super important. And I try to live my life that way. That's not just here. That's everybody, you know. When I talked to you before the show and I said, hey, afterwards, let's make sure we stay in touch. That's because I want us to remain friends. I think those things are super important in life. You know, it's hard to find.
Yeah. Kara, you've spent the last 3.5 years at in dealership, and we hear a lot about culture. How important is that starting right with the onboarding process, you know, and setting up, you know, the beginning of that relationship with the employer for the, you know, for the new employee?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, if you walked into any job in any industry and they weren't very welcoming, you know, they didn't introduce you to other members of the staff, your peers, show you around, you're going to feel really uncomfortable and out of place. And I know for me, touching on Stephen's point was, you know, I had a boss for the last 3.5 years that hand wrote every single one of his employees a Christmas card. And nobody talked about the money that was also in that envelope, but they all talked about how he hand wrote personalized letters to every single person. And it took him days. I watched him do it. So I know it wasn't something that he could easily do. He's a busy man. And that was something that, you know, made a huge impact, and I'll always remember.
It's a great story.
And here you are talking about it today, right?
Yeah.
You know, all this time. So Sandy, you know, give us some of the backstory. Are those some of the things that you work with dealers on and setting up and establishing? How does Sandy ZANINO fit into this?
It is actually, you know, when Kara was talking, I thought to myself, here's how my mind works. Like, I'm like, okay, so let's take a dealer that's got 1,000 employees, right? Because they're either you're selling or you're buying these days is what it seems like. So finding new and innovative ways, creative ways to stay in touch with your employees when it really isn't feasible to sit down and write a card, because writing 1,000 cards, think about how long that will take. Much longer than days, right? He'd have to be doing it all year long.
Right.
So yeah, that really is part of what I do. I go in and see how things are working. You know, one thing I say and one thing I know, and I have complete confidence in this, is that even though car dealers all do the same thing, selling and servicing cars, they do it in different ways. We have everybody's got a different process, different technology. None of our technology really likes to talk to each other. So particularly in HR, finding the processes that work for your group sometimes can take some time and need some tweaking, and also maybe need like an outside view to be able to see how to streamline those operations, especially with onboarding. And you know, Stephen, you said something that really sparked something about you make breakfast for somebody that comes in and cleans.
Sure.
Right. And not that long ago, I heard some story, and I think it was about NASA. And this points to how important it is for an organization to have a mission and a vision and have that clearly articulated, right? So that at onboarding, everybody knows what they're doing, right? They know why they're doing it. And at NASA, the best example is there's a story about somebody who was cleaning at NASA. And when he was asked, what does he do for a living? And he said, I help put people on the moon. Right. Because that's what it's about, you know. And the other thing, Stephen, that story reminds me of, I have a new favorite book. It's been my favorite book now for like 4 years since I found it. And it's called The No Asshole Rule. One, I like it because I get to say the title.
Of course.
And two, one of the ways to tell when someone is an asshole, because everybody can be a jerk sometimes,
sure,
right?
Of course.
But one of the ways is that how they treat, or how to tell someone isn't, and that's how they treat everyone around them, especially people who may not be as high up on the totem pole as they.
Sure.
So I know something about you, Stephen.
Yep. I see a lot of friends in the chat tonight. I see Ray is there. Rebecca Chernick. Becky, welcome. Thank you for being here. Mike Weldon, we wish you well in your recuperation. You're in our prayers, so thank you for coming tonight. Very honored to have you. Great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable as well. We're talking tonight. We have Steve Mason, Sandy ZANINO here with Cara Delane and I. Sandy, are HR managers looking for these new ideas, innovative ideas, or is it coming from elsewhere in the dealership? What's your experience right now?
You know, that's an interesting question, right? Because lots of times I don't talk that much with HR, because HR never gets to go to conferences. We don't get to do, you know, get out in the greater world of automotive. Often, not that often. Some groups, yes. So I end up talking to dealers and managers, usually who are looking for people and trying to figure out. I mean, right now that's the big thing, right? Is everybody needs. Hey, Becky, everybody needs to find people, right? And it's one of the things I talk about. The labor shortage is real, which makes all of this, that the other stuff that we're talking about, even more important, right? It's demographic. And those of us in HR, we've known that this labor shortage has been coming. I've been talking about it for 10 years, right? Because there just aren't enough working age people. And now I'll give you the statistic that everybody goes, what? In 2 years, 64% of our workforce will be millennial and Gen Z. It is time for everybody's going, oh my God, right? But it's time. What that means is that you need to build a value proposition, right? For your candidates, who are your prospects. It's the same stuff you do in sales. It is the same stuff you do in sales. But looking at your employees, they're your internal prospects and your internal customers, right? So you need to build a value proposition that is going to attract, most especially Gen Z. Millennials, the whole generation is in the workforce, but Gen Z is coming quick and they want different stuff.
Kenneth, I'm glad you like the hair from Sugarland, Texas tonight. Steve, how do you feel about, because some comments rolling in agreeing with what Sandy's saying?
So I think that, number one, I think she's 100% correct. And I think that the industry still has to do a better job of, I get so tired of talking to people who are so focused on, hiring people based on talent. Let me tell y'all something, and I'm going to say this and be very, very passionate about it. A lot of times talent will take you somewhere that character can't keep you. I'm going to focus on the person, because guess what? So I went to a baseball tryout one time. I don't talk about this much. I had a chance to play for the Cincinnati Reds. I had to try an open league tryout to try to sign me to AA ball. I ran really well to first base. They timed me first to second base. They timed me first, second, third. And I caught everything, but I didn't hit anything. And I'm going to tell you what the guy told me. He said, man, you run really well and you field really well, and you couldn't hit basketballs if we threw it at you. And I said, yeah, you're right. He goes, but that's our job to teach you. So if we keep hiring the same talented people, why don't we ask ourselves, why are talented people unemployed? versus maybe us trying to cultivate the people that are working with us that may have character, who have stuck with us, because nobody talks about that. And I'll tell y'all one thing, there's hardly a manager out there that didn't work his way up to be a manager. And the strangest thing for me is those same guys sit there looking for a talented individual. So then you got to ask yourself, do you want a talented individual so you don't have to work as hard? Or do you want to take somebody that's got a lot of character and, man, get after it and make them better and make them the best that you can make them be? And that's my opinion, and that's always going to be my opinion. I think Sandy's dead on about what's happening in the industry. I still think that we as an industry are not doing a good job of looking out there and saying, okay, can James, who's a salesperson, is he a person I can bring along? Is he someone I can invest in? Because at the end of the day, with good employees, and I don't mean to sound like a preacher, every nickel I spend on them should come back to me dressed up like a dime. That's where I'm at.
That's awesome. I love that, the whole idea of who are you looking for rather than what skill set are you what experience are you looking for. I believe firmly in interviewing for the things that you can't teach, right? And especially with generations that are just entering the workforce, they're not going to have the experience, right? But are you interviewing for integrity? These are the things that we don't really teach our managers very much, right? I think that in our industry still often, because of, there's a lot of different biases, confirmation bias, and that's what we call it. That's what it's called. But most managers know from the minute a candidate hits the door, whether they're going to hire them or not, right? And it's usually because they're just like them. So learning how to see those things and also learn how to find out, like through behavioral interviewing, does this person have integrity? What are you looking for? What fits in your group? What is the core values? How do they show up on a daily basis? What is the story that you tell? And being able to interview for those things. If you value family, that's one of the core values, or fun, service. How do you get that out of a candidate so that that they're going to be that it's going to work for them and you, right? This fit thing that we say all the time, I think we should throw that out the window. I'm looking for a good fit. I think we need to throw it out the window. We need to start fitting our candidates.
I think I'm good enough to make my own good fit. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel.
Sandy, you mentioned Liza. She was just here with, I think Adam Aarons as well, good friend.
Oh, Adam. Yes. Who doesn't love Adam? Who doesn't know Adam, actually?
Oh, Adam is amazing. And they were just here over the last 3 weeks. We did a whole series of panels for Subaru for their national fixed ops or after sales conference. And Liza and Adam were a big part of that. And they talked about the hiring process, Steve, and they talked about culture. And one of the things that Adam said, Sandy, is that I never let the sales manager do the hiring. All right. Because the sales manager is not looking for the same qualities, maybe the right way. So I'll typically he'll say 3 or 4 people do the interviewing, but it's not the sales manager. And I thought that was pretty interesting that he was looking at it that way.
I mean, I think maybe Adam has a great way of doing things, right? And he's a great out of the box thinker. I would go a step further and say I would want to teach my sales manager, right? Because if he's going to be leading that person after they bring him on, I would want to help that manager gain those skills so that he can start to make those determinations about who to hire and maybe who not to hire. I'll call Adam tomorrow and tell.
And by the way, a shout out to Becky Chernick, because I don't think any of us would know Adam Aarons if it were not for Becky introducing us about 4 or 5 years ago, Becky, at one of your conferences, and we brought Adam out as a keynote speaker with Joe St. John. And that's where a lot of us met Adam for the first time. And then, it all happened from there. So Becky, thank you so much for all you do. And you've known Adam, of course, for a long, long time. Steve, what are your thoughts?
I had to comment real quick on Sean Butler posted. He said, hey, listen, there's a large segment of people 50 plus years old that are capable of working. And I think that also goes without saying, because, we can't all sit around in one room and all have a drink together saying, well, you're only as old as you feel. And then castigate somebody who's 50 years old because we think they're not capable. When in reality, we all know that there are so many people that are in that bracket that we can depend on, that will do anything we need them to do, and they are constants. And by the way, those are the same ones you can hire to help you train those millennials and whatnot, and teach them the real values. And that's where it starts. It's got to be foundational. And you have to be willing to put the right people in place. And it's not ego-driven, it's team-driven. And it all works out if you do that. Everything works out, in my opinion.
I think that is a great point. We are in a place where, number one, I'm Gen X, right? I'm in that age bracket, right? And this generation and boomers is where we need to be able to create those relationships and those connections where the information, the knowledge, that long time knowledge that we have can be transferred to the younger generations. We have to start thinking about succession as well, right? And how are we going to do that? It's an interesting environment where we have 4 generations in the workforce.
Yeah, we do.
Right, 4 very different generations. I mean, my daughter's a Gen Z. I'm Gen X. She calls me Boomer. Right? She's like, okay, Boomer.
I love that. I love that.
So everybody thinks I think that everybody has they don't like the generation coming behind them just because they're younger. My mother said all kinds of things about my generation.
She probably did. All right. Well,
in the 80s too. In the 80s.
In the spirit of the 80s, Sandy and Steve, Kara has prepared some trivia for both of you. For me, I don't know what's coming, and for our audience. So, Kara, I'll let you take it away.
All right.
Yeah. So we're not playing Name That Tune because Facebook was getting mad at us. Sorry, Facebook gods. Please don't be mad at us anymore so we can play Name That Tune.
Okay.
We're going to play some 80s trivia tonight. So it's still on topic with music. So hopefully both of you know your 80s music.
Oh, Sandy and I are ready.
All right. So I have 3 different questions for you guys. Here is the first one, and they're multiple choice. So it should be not too hard.
Okay.
So Queen's first song in 1980 was also their first #1 hit in the United States. Which song was it?
Do we put it in the chat? What do we do?
Just answer out loud.
I think it was We Are the Champions.
Audience, you can answer in the chat, the people who are watching.
Yes, please help them. It's not C.
Oh, then I
was going to say, I think it's B, Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
It is B.
Not a girl, Sandy. You're carrying me just like Cindy did.
And it's C. You have to know me to know that if I thought it was C, I would.
I'm processing. There's only 3 of them, and I'm not kind of wrong.
That was great.
Everybody was in. We got some B's and some C's.
Oh, so. Cindy. Okay. Dan Stockel knows. Stan's in. Okay.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
I'm letting Sandy answer first.
All right, yeah, don't answer. Yeah. All right. Oh,
Music
this one I don't know.
Was released by which rock band?
In Excess.
Woo!
Oof.
He answered quickly.
Hey, listen, I'm back.
You sure it's not Bon Jovi?
Oh no, that's In Excess.
Ted is Bon Jovi.
I have no idea because it's rock.
I should have put that in. Who looks like Bon Jovi? A. Teddy's.
Steve Mason.
Okay, here we go. The last one here. Who sang Islands in the Stream with Kenny Rogers?
Sandy, I'll let you go. I know the answer, but I'll let you.
You know the answer. Yep.
Dolly, isn't it Dolly? Islands in the
Amen.
Stream. That is what we are.
That's it.
Right? No one in between. I don't know the rest of it.
Keep going. Yeah.
But that's the song, right?
Yes. And
Are the Facebook gods gonna holler if we're singing the?
I hope not. I hope not.
Sandy, you better check your Facebook page. They just blacklisted you.
But Sandy was right. It was Dolly Parton. And you got all the words right. So
Yeah,
she
bonus
did.
points to
Yeah.
you.
I was more impressed with that.
Actually, that would be a really fun game. Like to do the first
Finish the lyrics.
to
Yeah.
finish the lyrics, right?
If Facebook wasn't getting mad at me for the songs, I would do that. But they keep getting mad at us. So I had to quit the music for now.
Kara, you're just gonna have to start singing the songs.
Just a rebel.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised
That's
Belinda
it.
Carlisle from the Go-Go's hadn't called you yet.
Do you know that one of the Go-Go's went to my high school? I don't remember which one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Everybody
went to my high
knows
school.
famous people on here every show.
And my English teacher from high school was best friends with the lead singer from Heart, Ann Wilson or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Oh man,
Wow, that's
they're awesome. She
Oh,
can
yeah,
sing.
absolutely.
It's
Wow.
probably one of the only rock groups that
I agree.
I know.
Wow.
Journey.
We
It
had
was
some
Journey.
hard on here the other night and Journey. Yeah. So.
Oh, Journey, listen, don't even get me started. I'm gonna get a candle and hold it up in my office tomorrow morning.
I'd like to see Sean
Guys,
Butler
I
on
wonder
here
what's going on.
with Sandy do the duet like Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. Sean Butler. So-
Yeah.
I can get. Hey, Dolly's pretty awesome, actually. Dolly. I mean, that woman has written so many songs.
Yes.
Mhm.
She is super, super talented,
Tomorrow,
and
instead
she
of-
can still sing.
in the Friday meeting, instead of talking to the team, I'm going to play Faithfully.
Oh, from Journey. Journey. That's actually pre-80s, right? Yeah.
No, is it?
I think
It-
you're okay
it's-
with the 80s. Yeah.
Faithfully is God. I don't know.
Early 80s. Yeah.
It's early '80s.
I think so.
I don't know. I feel like I was like 12.
I learned it on the
14.
show here a couple
Oh,
weeks ago.
sorry. look at Rebecca's chiming in. Journey. We started a movement.
I think we have.
Right?
All right. So the movement is going all the way to May to the next big event. And Kara, back to the 80s. When is that again?
It starts on May 15th, and it's once again a 4-day virtual event. So we're going through the 18th. So May 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. Don't miss out. Get your complimentary tickets now at fixedopsroundtable.com.
You know, I've seen some of the names in the announcements. Are we going to have like 80s music throughout this event as well?
Oh, everything is going to be 80s. Most of our speakers are going to be dressed up in 80s attire. It's going to be all 80s out, and I can't wait for it.
Man, cannot wait. So everybody get those tickets because they are moving quick. fixedopsroundtable.com. So and Katie is you mentioned to me earlier, Sandy. Katie
Yeah,
is doing
Katie's
some
gonna
things
be
at
on,
the event
right?
as well. So yeah.
Faithfully was
Good
83.
stuff. And Dan Stock, I look forward to seeing you there as well. And Sandy and Steve, you're invited as well to the 80s event to speak there. So
Fantastic.
I look
I'll
forward.
be there with bells on.
All right.
I'm gonna wear my parachute pants.
I want to see that.
Please.
Can you
This
post a
This has
picture
been
with
such
that?
a
I
pleasure.
can't talk much longer, y'all. I've got breakdancing lessons at 8:45.
I don't know if I can do that.
Oh man.
I never did breakdancing.
Oh,
We could have a break dancing competition, Kara.
Facebook would shut us down.
We're not dancing. I don't know what to do with
they
myself.
teach that at Arthur Murray.
Oh my God, no, not that.
Love it.
Oh man. Hey,
Thank
thank
you
y'all so
guys.
much.
Thank you guys so much, Sandy and Steven. Thanks again for being on the show tonight, and thanks for having so much 80s fun with us. And to our audience tonight, thank you for playing along with our trivia and commenting. Thanks to Bon Jovi next to me for his wig. Guys, we will see you all on Monday night at 8 p.m.
Sandy, very nice meeting you. And Ted, if you pet your wig one more time, I'm going to ask you out to dinner.
So